Come on down. Wow, that's amplification. All right, so I'm going to get started. Here we are, again, for another 5 years. I walked in here to sort of set my mind and prepare a bit about an hour ago, and I sat down in the chair over there. And just being in the space, I lost it. So many memories. It's incredible how being in a space just takes you immediately to some place that your brain remembers and you sort of forgot. But the amazing thing is it comes right back. And so I had the chance to sort of dehydrate a bit, and hopefully I'll stay dehydrated. So we get a list at the beginning of the process for preparing the memorial every 5 years, and it's from the university, and it includes the new people who've passed. And this year it included people who were honorary members of our class. And one of those people was Dean Fred Hargadon, who died a couple years ago, and who I think everyone here would agree we all owe a very, very deep level of gratitude to that man and his team. And it's nice to sort of imagine, like, what was it in each of us that he saw out of the piles and piles of people? What did he see? What was the light, that piece of magic that made him say, this is how I'm going to curate a group of people who are going to know each other for their whole lives? It's pretty wild, that responsibility and that gift that he gave to us. So I thought it was appropriate to start off by remembering him and thanking him for the incredible gift that he gave us of these relationships and friendships that have proven so powerful and important. Yeah, I've been incredibly lucky since graduating. I've stayed close to my Princeton friends, quite close. And I'd say at least one Princeton friend every 6 weeks, which is, I think, pretty awesome. It's often a breakfast or a family dinner. We get everyone together. But reunions are the time that I get to see the people I don't see as often. And I took the train out with Manuel yesterday. And I haven't seen Manuel in years, but sitting next to him, he didn't even have to say anything. Just you could see in his eyes how he thinks. I could hear his laugh, and it was all back again. I knew the whole Manuel and felt connected, and I felt warm and safe, and it was wonderful, a wonderful feeling. But I haven't had breakfast or dinner or a train ride with Morgan in 26 years. 26 years. It's a long time. And I have to acknowledge that the memory is harder to pull forward. It's harder to reach, to touch, to have that inspiration, except in the gift of a dream. I'd say once a year, I have a dream, and he's right there. And he's just as goofy and silly, and I'm like, dude, I thought you were dead. And he's like, no. And just keeps right on going. And those are just these incredible gifts where I get to spend time with him again. And yet it's a dream, so dreams are like incredibly unreliable. You can't make them happen. And then when they're there, you want them to stay, and you just like, no, don't disappear. But it's gone. So that's what this is for. That's what we're here today to do for the next hour, is we're going to kind of dream with our eyes open. And we're going to invite back the memories and all the instincts and the surroundings. And so what I would wish for you would just be to take a deep breath. There's a lot of tension around this. And just let it all in, let it all out. we're all here together. I can't tell you how much I love working on this. Annie and I have been doing it from the beginning, and I really love being part of this, and I'm going to do it as long as I can. And what makes me feel so great is I know in 120 years, when Annie and I are gone, this is a joke, you guys are all going to be here, and you're going to be thinking of us. It's an amazing, wonderful gift. So with that, let's begin.
Hi, I'm Annie, and I also want to just thank you so much for being here in the midst of all the celebration of everything that Princeton's afforded us, including the deep friendships that we had with our colleagues who we're going to be remembering today. So thank you for that. I have a poem that I'd like to start with. It's by Sir Walter Raleigh, who was an explorer in the early 17th century. And he wrote it from the perspective of those who have passed on. And Eli and I chose it thinking that it would be helpful to connect with them and to hear, in some sense, their sense of peace or their joy as they're with us this weekend. It's called When at Heart You Should Be Sad. When at heart you should be sad, pondering the joys we had. Listen and keep very still. If the lowing from the hill or the toiling of a bell do not serve to break the spell, listen. You may be allowed to hear my laughter from a cloud. So Eli and I have been reaching out to college roommates and to parents of the loved ones since our fifth, inviting them to attend the service or to write something on behalf of the class members. And we did so again this year and received a lot of really beautiful messages about the people from our class. So we've asked volunteers to read them. Sometimes they are family members, sometimes they are roommates. And so we'll go through the list alphabetically and read those messages. And if anyone has anything else to share, just please, a brief comment would be wonderful and welcomed. So we'll start with Christine Ace Aminette, whose family's here. John, hi. Please, are you okay with that?
I'm fine. How are you?
Good, nice to see you.
See you too. Hello all. So good to see everybody. I wish it were a little bit different circumstances, but good to see you all. So I'm here to remember my wife, Christy. She passed away, for those of you that might not know, a couple years ago. She had esophageal cancer. And my children are here, our 4 children are here down the end of the bench. And so I just thought, so I met Christy here, I fell in love with Christy here. Lots of personal memories there, obviously. But I just want to read some words from her parents, so I'm going to go ahead and share that. Words cannot express the great joy we felt on June 27th, 1971, when our daughter Christy was born into our family, composed of 2 30-year teachers and 3 little boys. Nor can words express the depth of grief we felt when Christy's battle with cancer and her untimely death at the age of 44. Yet throughout this limited time, she brought to the Nace family and to the new family created with John Aminette many gifts of love and caring. We could not have asked for a better, more loving daughter. We are thankful every day for the gift of Christy in our lives. We are thankful every day, too, for her loveliest gifts to us, her children, Morgan, Abby, Zach, and Lucy, through whom their mother's legacy shines brightly. I can't really improve on that, so I'm going to leave that there. Thanks.
Rather than come up each time, I think people know if they're reading, so I'll just say, Rebecca, thank you for reading about Amy, our classmate Amy Brokab.
We lost a classmate and friend when Amy died unexpectedly August 21st, 1993, at the age of 22. She was undergoing radiology treatment for a venous malformation in the muscles of her back when she suffered heart failure. Amy entered Princeton with the class of 92 and took a year off following her sophomore year and returned to graduate with the class of 93. She majored in classics and used the support of the Steele Prize to spend 2 summers on archaeological digs in Europe. She volunteered at the Women's Center, where she was co-editor of Voices, a publication highlighting the artistic and literary talents of Princeton women. Amy's interests were divided between classics and fine arts, and she relished the time she spent drawing and painting in the art department studios. She belonged to Terrace and worked there as a kitchen assistant. Princeton friends paid tribute to Amy at a memorial service and tree planting ceremony on campus October 23, 1993. Amy was further honored by the new Brokaw-Bryant Faculty Lecture Series, which began January 13, 1994. To Amy's parents, Father Robert, Mother Linda Clark, and stepfather Raymond Clark, we extend our sincerest sympathies, the class of '93.
Is Raquel Gilmer here? Thanks. Raquel would like to say a few words about Lisa Bryant. Thanks.
Like our classmate Amy, Lisa left us right after graduation. She was murdered, unfortunately, that July, right after we graduated. And her mom asked me to speak about Lisa. Those of you who might have known Lisa know that, like, if she was here right now, she would have done amazing, incredible things. She had such a great spirit, such a great poise about her, and just this like commitment to justice and love, and was an incredibly special woman. I felt so honored to know her. One thing, I think I shared this 5 years ago at our 20th. I wanted to share it again because it was something that Lisa said before she passed that really stuck with me, that I've really carried with me. So the year before Lisa passed, she was hit by a car that summer. And when we came back on campus, she said, you know, I was hit by a car and it made me realize life is really short and we're not guaranteed tomorrow. And she said, I found this quote and I really want to live my life this way. And I want to encourage my friends to live it this way too, that plan as though you'll live forever, live as though you die tomorrow. And watching her that year live her life to the fullest and love at the fullest and be connected with people in the fullest way. When I heard that she passed, I was so sad. And yet at the same time, the only solace I had was remembering that she had this incredibly full year and that she literally chose to live her life like that quote. And I share that because we've been out 25 years. Like, I know that there are days that I'm not living like that, and I want to live like that every day. And being here with all of you, sharing time with wonderful friends reminds me of that. So if you're not living your life like Lisa lived her life that last year, I want to put that out there because she had 1 year, literally almost just 1 year, almost to the date from that time she had that moment. And we've had 25 years. Did we live those 25 years? And if we haven't, let's start.
Thanks, Raquel. Jonathan Clodfelter, are there any roommates of Jonathan's here who would like to say anything, or any college friends? So John Appanek, who is a roommate, was going to be here to say something. He had a family emergency, so he was unable to attend the reunions. But he wanted to just say, if I could say it for him very simply, that Jonathan was a good friend and a good man. Elizabeth Eaton. I welcome anyone to say a word about Elizabeth. So Elizabeth passed in 2010. She was a lawyer in New Jersey and a meaningful part of our class as well. Marjan Esmaili Assad. Okay. Eli was able to connect with his brother, and who also wanted to share his grateful appreciation for all of us being here today to appreciate his sibling and to just be so mindful of the power of this class and the community that we have. Michelle Gowdy. I think Kristen Burns would like to read. Thanks, Kristen.
You know, it's your 25th reunion when you have to bring your reading glasses up. I'm grateful to you all for being here today. 3 words have always captured Michelle for me in my mind: joy, music, and love. Michelle was brimming with joy, like when she was launching a spur-of-the-moment dance party, in our sophomore year common room to Madonna's Vogue, when she was cracking joke after bad joke while we were supposed to be studying in our tiny Witherspoon Hall bedroom, or when she was singing a solo with her beloved Tiger Lilies under an arch on a warm spring night. Music animated her, creating it, enjoying it, sharing it with her friends. Billy Joel's You're My Home still makes me smile, and remember how she introduced me to it on our classic early 1990s boombox. And finally, love. Michelle loved her family, she loved her friends, and she loved being at Princeton. As we all get ready to celebrate this weekend together, there will be joy in reconnecting with old friends and recapturing for just a moment a sliver of our youth. There will be music, from Arch Sings to 80s cover bands and dancing under the tents. And there will be love, love for the people and the places that shaped us, challenged us, and nudged us into adulthood. Wherever there's joy, music, and love, I can't help feeling that Michelle is somehow present too. I'll end by reading the letter that her parents, Bill and Donna Gowdy, shared when they learned about today's service. It says, "Just today, we received a call regarding a memorial plaque at Michelle's high school. The plaque reads, 'Always with a song in her heart.' Michelle Gowdy, class of 1993, passed away in May of 1992. But that song in her heart can be heard in her 6 nieces and nephews, in her sister Karen and brother-in-law Ken, and in her brother Brett and her sister-in-law Jean Nicole. 2 scholarships continue on at Princeton in Michelle's name. Her love for the university and her devotion to the Tiger Lilies will always remain. From her parents, her siblings, and her nieces and nephews, thank you all for continuing to remember Michelle. She is loved and missed every single day. And may you enjoy your 25th Princeton reunion celebration with a song in your heart." Thanks.
Thanks, Kristen. Lori Beth Hickey was one of my college roommates, both here and also a roommate in Seattle, and I've asked Alex to read a message from her parents.
Hi, everybody. Yeah, I connected with Lori really early on freshman year, and I'm sure a lot of people here knew her. She was a force to be reckoned with, and probably introduced herself to so many of you like really early on freshman year. She was an incredibly warm, loving, funny, really smart person, and I'm gonna cry if I talk about her too much, so instead I can't say it better than her parents, Terry and Jack Hickey, who sent this note. "When we remember our daughter, Lori Beth Hickey, we remember the passion with which she lived her life. We remember her wicked sense of humor, her love for family and friends, for her yellow lab Mia, for books and music and learning, for practicing as a pediatrician and treating sick children, for traveling the world, for learning languages. We remember the intensity with which she lived and loved. Our daughter had a mental illness. She died fighting adversaries that were real to her, that sapped her strength and energies and eventually overwhelmed her. But she was brave for so long, and that is what we choose to remember. Her daily victories gained through her kindness and thoughtfulness and love. In our lives, we have found the most rewarding relationships are those that have endured. This includes family and others that by their choice and ours, we have remained close to. Among the closest and most rewarding friendships are those that began in college. To honor Lori and her life, we urge the people she touched at Princeton to take from her absence an increased devotion to each other. Think of her and how fragile life can be. Make the effort to stay in touch and be kind to one another.
So we're going to talk about Morgan now, and I think I'm going to invite Jesse up and then JP to say a couple things.
So I was trying to think of some memories of Morgan the last few days. Probably about 3 weeks ago, I was riding my bike alone. It was a blue sky day, somewhere up about 10,000 feet on the Colorado Trail. And I just felt this overwhelming sense of Morgan, because those are the kind of places he loved the most. You know, I stopped riding, started crying a bit, looked around, and there was this beautiful, amazing view. And it's just one of the many times that I feel Morgan still in my life, and I would assume many of you who knew him in your life. I think he shows himself from time to time. I think whenever I'm out in nature, I think about Morgan, because those are the places he loved most. And whether it's, you know, skiing or hiking, or remember he took me to his sort of stomping grounds as a kid up near Mount Whitney in Colorado, or California, and we were hiking up there and spent lots of times in the mountains of Colorado as well. Two stories which I think remind me of Morgan's sense of adventure, sense of humor, innocence. It was, I think, junior winter, and Nate Ford and Morgan were coming to visit me in Colorado, and they had flown into a small little airport. They got in this tiny little car, and they were coming over the pass, and they hit an elk. And the elk destroyed the front of the car, knocked out the windshield, and Nate and Morgan proceeded to put their ski goggles on and continue driving all the way down. So it was literally out of Dumb and Dumber. They pulled into Telluride, both, you know, giggling with fur off the side of the car and ski goggles on. Another one which took place with Morgan's middle brother, Clint. We were visiting Clint down at Millsaps in Mississippi, where he was a student, and he had a Jeep, and we decided we were going to go off-roading, and you know, we tried to find a place, and we said, oh, that looks like a good spot, and we, you know, went back and forth and got really dirty, and it turns out we were on some trail that was really sacred, and we shouldn't have been on it. And we ended up basically getting arrested and being put in a chain gang where we had to wear the neon suits and spend the day, you know, with men working signs and replacing our divots. And there's still a beautiful picture of Clint and Morgan from that day. I often ask myself, you know, what would Morgan be doing with his life right now? You know, where would he be living? No doubt flying would be still a passion of his, because it was from such a young age, and still I think his parents have all his model airplanes hanging in his room in Santa Monica. I wonder if he'd still be in the Air Force. I wonder what adventures he'd be planning. No doubt he would be out in nature with his family. I wonder if any of us would be doing, you know, family adventures with him. You know, a number of us in this class have sons or daughters now named Morgan, and it really started with Morgan's oldest brother, Wayne, who graduated from here, whose oldest daughter, many of you hopefully met yesterday, Morgan McKenzie, who I think is over here. And I texted Wayne and Clint last night after I met Morgan. Morgan, I'm sorry you had to deal with so many people giving you hugs and crying. But Wayne said, I love that Morgan's namesake is getting to meet you guys, and at Princeton, no less. And Clint said something very similar. You know, my son, Morgan, who's just turned 8, has asked me from time to time about Morgan. You know, was he tall? Was he funny? Could he have kept up with me skiing? You know, yes, yes, yes. You know, in so many ways, Morgan, who we're remembering today, reminds me so much of my son Morgan. He's gentle, he's kind, he's adventurous, he's funny. And I like to believe that a lot of that isn't by chance, that our Morgan played a role in that. So thank you, Morgan, for your friendship, our time together. I love you.
So I'd actually like to share a reflection on two of our classmates, Morgan McKenzie, but also Mary Miller, both of whom were good friends, in part because both left so abruptly. I happened to actually be at Mary's apartment the night that she was killed. So Mary was a force of nature. She was about this tall, a total spark plug, and just very intentional about wanting to make the most of the time that she had. The story that comes back to my mind is we were both officers in Colonial senior year, and so we all kind of lived in rooms near each other, and there was a guy's bathroom that was kind of right outside her door. And way before current times, she determined that needed to be a unisex bathroom. And so, we'd be going in, taking a shower, and she's like, "I'm coming in, deal with it." That was just kind of the way Mary was. But her passing obviously came completely out of left field. And that experience was, for many of us, the first time we experienced that was May 18th of our junior year. And so I knew Morgan as a roommate. I think what was already shared was really captured it. He spent his time on the stuff that he cared about. He cared about his volleyball teammates. He loved to fly, cared about his friends. And what made such an impression on me was he really didn't care about what other people thought. I mean, he was here to sort of have his experience. He was completely at ease with himself, which was, I thought, far more mature than most of us. The other night, several of us were together for dinner, and we were just kind of reflecting on 25 years, and he obviously came up quite a bit. And part of what came to my mind was we were all sort of dropped in this bubble. We came from different places, different backgrounds, different experiences, had different aspirations, different insecurities. And yet we had the gift of being together in this time and having that experience in a way that we have not been able to replicate. And the friendships that took place in this window are really, truly unique. And so for me, Morgan's gift was realizing that we needed to appreciate that. May 18th was like a lightning bolt. It came out of the blue. There was no goodbye. There was no chance to say thanks for being such a good friend. And yet, in the years that have passed, I think it's that experience that was Morgan's biggest gift. Because as we have had the chance to connect, even when it's not all that often, we realize how lucky we've been. And it's been said before around several other roommates, but just being both appreciative and intentional about that time. And so as I think about, if Morgan were here, what would I want to say most? I think, as Jesse said, it would simply be, thank you.
Haley Lightdale, I think, also has something that she'd like to say about Mary Miller. Thanks.
Well, JP kind of captured Mary in a nutshell there, I think. But just to say a few more words, Mary was murdered during a carjacking in 1994, and Mary and I walked together at commencement, and she was one of the first friends I made freshman year. So at the time, I remember how right it felt to walk past our families and out through those gates together. And we were like, we were anxious, we were sweaty, we were hungover, but Mary was giggling, And she's been gone for 20 or more than 20 years now, and the visceral pang that I get when I think of her is always followed by the echo of her laughter. But Mary really had an intense idealistic passion, and she had this ability to commit herself fully to whatever she felt and believed, and did it without this kind of sense of irony and sort of like postmodern skepticism that like always permeated my 1990s. And it was always like striking, in my memories, I'm always sitting still and Mary's in motion. She's very vivacious, enthusiastic, and she retained or relished this sort of childlike ability to lose herself in giggles. She could just fall down laughing. And, I remember her doing that maybe most freshman year. And sophomore year, I remember her running off to join the Nude Olympics, and I wavered at the last minute about participating, but she was like all in. And somehow, she really made it a feminist issue. In the spring of our senior year, we had the good luck to share a women's studies history course precept that was led by Professor Christine Stansel. And that precept was a really special experience because we were all graduating seniors, we were all women, we were from different backgrounds, but we shared the fact that we were getting ready to go out into the world and be adult women. And Professor Stansel really encouraged us to connect personally to the legal status and family roles of women in colonial America, and then through the legal struggles and gender role developments in our country's history since then. And it was a context in which, we would consider, like, what might it mean to take on a future spouse's name or not, to pursue our career goals, and to take ourselves seriously. And it's when I began taking Mary seriously again, she was a feminist in every sense of the term, like every proud sense of the term, and she honed her voice in that precept. And it's when I realized that she was going to devote herself to supporting causes of equality. So her work with Emily's List after graduation, and then also her decision to go to Washington, D.C. for grad school at GW, felt right. And I recalled that she had so much angst about each choice, but from the outside, it was obvious that she had found her path. And with her drive, I know if that path hadn't been tragically interrupted, I believe she would have made her mark on our world. There's a memorial lecture series in her name that her parents have endowed in what has grown to be the program in Gender Studies and Sexuality Studies, and it feels like the right tribute. I get a kick out of the titles of the annual lectures about sexuality, race, gender, and politics because they're unselfconsciously PC. But I can picture Mary attending like them, choosing to attend them out of interest, and then hear her talking about them over dinner at Colonial, and I believe she'd be proud to claim it as her legacy.
Austin Nam, are Austin's parents here today? So I don't know how many of you remember that Austin Nam was a classmate who passed away on his outdoor action trip before he made it to college to join us in a lot of the memories that we shared. He was portaging a canoe, crossing a road, and got hit by a car. And I remember specifically coming off of the OA trip and having a big, powerful moment of just recognizing Austin and what we had ahead of us, and my sorrow for what he didn't have. And again, like other people have said, the gift that the power of that moment to be able to say, take advantage of this. When Eli and I started to email the parents and the roommates early on, Austin's family came from not too far away to join us at I think it was the 5th, and again at the 15th. They weren't able to join us for the 20th and aren't here today. But every moment, every one of those memorials where they were sort of quietly in the Blair Archway where we've held this memorial before, recognizing all of Austin's peers and the good lives that we're leading. So I'm grateful for Austin. Corrine Roosevelt, Anna Rutherford, Priscilla and Kermit Roosevelt, her parents, have also written something to be read.
Hi, everybody. This is written about Corrine Roosevelt on behalf of her parents, Priscilla and Kermit. During her years at Princeton, Corrine was a member of the Episcopal Church community here. She was also a campus activist who demonstrated on behalf of minority student concerns and for increased funding for the SHARE program. Corrine loved Princeton for its inspiring classes and attentive professors, and for the second home she found at Terrace Club, where she made lifelong friends. One of those friends was Cincy Hernandez Cancio, class of '92, who spoke at her funeral in DC. Corrine started out in the class of 1992, but took a year off. I'm now going to read a condensed version of some of the remarks that Cincy said at her memorial service last summer. Since her death, many have come forward to share stories of love, admiration, and gratitude about Corrine, about how much she meant to their lives, how enormous her heart was, about how she was always there to listen when they were going through tough times and made them feel truly heard. One friend wrote a poem about her exposing hypocrisy and pounding out injustice as if it was a beautiful piece of jade, cutting, elevating, and embracing. Another wrote, she took serious risks, personal, emotional, to make Princeton a significantly more decent, humane, and just place. She was brave when she had real, not so brave, easier options. Not everyone puts their own skin in the game in real life. Hero gets overused, but I think it's fair to call her one. Our friendship was cemented on the hard things, the sad things, the traumatic things, but there was happiness and fun too. Trips down to Puerto Rico, an island we both loved. She met my family, my parents loved her, my grandma adored her. She became extended family. I was able to enjoy the softer, relaxed, ebullient Corrine on the beach with those luminous green eyes reflecting the Caribbean Sea. Smiles and laughter, watching her swaying adorably to salsa, though she really couldn't dance. Like Kim, I have a message for Sophia, Quentin, and Isabel. Ever since she became a mom, you have been her reason for being. Never doubt that. But there was a time before she brought you all into this world that her reason for being was fighting for justice and changing people's lives for the better. She took her suffering and pain and through force of will made it into something sharp and powerful and strong and put it at the service of others. Because of that, she was a leader who many, many people admired and many will miss. I want you to remember just how big and generous your mom's heart was, and especially that she was a hero and a warrior. Heroes are not perfect beings. They are tough, persistent, resilient, stubborn people who sometimes have sharp edges and love fiercely. As our Professor Cornell West said, justice is what love looks like in public. And she still gave the best hugs, laughed, giggled, and danced, and would lose herself in the beauty of ocean waves where she could always find wonder and peace. Corrine, wherever you are, we thank you, and I do hope you have found wonder and peace.
So those, oh, would you like to speak? Yeah, please.
Hi, I think we're missing someone from the list. A classmate named Liz Abunza. She went to my small high school in Salt Lake City. I didn't know her very well, but I felt like something should be said. So I'm just going to read what was in the Princeton Alumni Weekly when she died. She died on August 10th, 1996 in Houston. She was born in New Orleans and raised in Utah. She graduated as valedictorian from Roland Hall St. Mark's School in Salt Lake City, where I also went. At Princeton, she majored in architecture and civil engineering, was a valued member of the Whig Clio Society, and chaired a hip social program at Quadrangle Club. Friends planned to, Her graduation was delayed by illness, and she completed her thesis in 1996. I think she's an official member of our class, but maybe that's the reason. So she died shortly after that. So I just wanted to make sure she was remembered.
Thank you. So one thing Princeton hasn't really caught on with is data. I planned on having pictures of everybody, and they're like, well, I guess you can take pictures with your iPhone from the bric-a-brac. They didn't look so good. Thank you for all of those comments, memories. It's powerful. It's amazing how many people have gone, and crazy thing is the list is just going to get longer. I'd like to invite Eliud up to read us our next poem.
Hi, everyone. I should have done what Eli did, come an hour earlier, because I feel like I'm back 26 years ago. But I just, before I read the poem, if I could say something. It's truly incredible to think 25 years have passed since we graduated. 26 since Morgan left us and Michelle. And although Morgan and Michelle's loss broke us, I take tremendous solace in the fact that Morgan and Michelle's loss brought us friends ever closer together. He and Michelle made sisters and brothers out of friends, and their memory has since brought us light out of darkness. And as I said 26 years ago, Maureen, feel free to fly by anytime you want. We love you. We love you, Michelle. And now a poem. A poem by Mark Twain. Warm summer sun. warm summer sun, shine kindly here. Warm southern wind, blow softly here. Green sod above, lie light, lie light. Good night. Dear heart, good night. Good night.
So the beautiful singers of our class have an arrangement. And I'll let you introduce it as well, if that's okay. Yeah.
Michelle Gowdy, who is in the class of '93, was pure sunshine. And when she first joined the Tiger Lilies, I remember the very first thing she did, we had this room in the basement of one of the buildings with these little tiny windows at the top, and she washed all the windows to let the sunshine in. As I think of her being back here, I think of what she might have done. I loved seeing her bring out that sunshine and fun and light in all of us when she was here and when we were here together. And I like to think that her spirit lives on and continues to bring out that sunshine and fun in all of us this weekend and as we carry on. So we'd like to offer this song, which was arranged shortly after Morgan and Michelle's death by Eric McGilvray, who's a Nassoon in the class of '93. And all of the singing groups came together in unity to sing this in honor of Morgan and Michelle back in the day. And we offer it up today in honor of all those that we've lost that we wish were here with us this weekend.
So in some communities, this may be familiar to you, the idea of passing the peace to each other. And in the spirit of that song, if you can turn to your neighbor and shake their hand, or if you don't want to shake hands, just make sure that you're looking them in the eye to say, peace be with you. Closing benediction, and followed by Ol Nassau. Xanthi, thank you for leading us in the closing benediction.
Into the world singing, based on Isaiah 6:1. Let us go out into the world singing. Let us go out into the world singing songs that proclaim liberty, songs that turn ashes into garlands, songs that bind up the afflicted and those who mourn, songs that, like oaks, have roots that go deep and stand strong. Let us go out into the world singing. We know these songs. They vibrate through time in our very souls. They are the songs that give us life. They are the songs that give us meaning. They are the songs that give us purpose. Now it is our turn to take these life-giving songs out into the world. Let us go now, singing these songs with voices deep and strong, and may the world join us in praise and in celebration and in love. Amen. All right, we're going to sing Old Nassau, but I am not going to lead that.
Nor am I. Thank you, and peace be with all of you.